Okay, so for finding the midpoint or the distance between two given points, we have two formulas. We're going to start with the midpoint formula. We take the both x values of the points given, we find the sum, and then divide it by 2 because that's finding it halfways. And then we do the same thing with the y values. We find the sum between those two, take that sum, divide it by 2, and it gives us the point for the y coordinate. So we're going to start with this first example right here, where we know that x1 is equal to -4. So anywhere I see x1, I'm going to replace it with my given value of -4. And I also need to add my x2 value. In this example, we have a 10. Then we're going to do the same thing, but with our y coordinates. So my y1 coordinate is 6. And my y2 coordinate happens to be a -10. Make sure that you are careful with your positive and your negative values. Then here we just simply do the math. A -4 plus 10, it's like I owe $4 and I have 10. So that leaves us with 6 and I still have to divide it by 2. Then I do the same thing with the y. I have $6, but I owe 10. So I still owe 4. I still have to divide that by 2. I can continue by simplifying even further. 6 divided by 2 is 3. -4 divided by a +2 is -2. So the midpoint between point A and B is 3, -2. Now let's go ahead and try number 5. So again, I have to identify my x coordinates. So I have a -6 for my x1 and a -6.4 for my x2. So -6 plus a -6.4. Then I'm going to do the same thing but with my y coordinates. My y1 coordinate is -13 and my y2 coordinate is a -3.8. Anytime you're adding integers, if they're different signs, you're going to subtract and keep the sign of whichever one you had more of. But if they're the same sign, you add and you keep that sign. So I'm going to find the sum of my x's, divide that by 2, find the sum of my y's, and then divide that by 2. A -6 plus a -6.4 is a -12.4. A -13 and a -3.8 is a -16.8. I can simplify these two. So a -12.4 divided by 2, a negative divided by a positive is negative. So that would be -6.2. A -16.8 divided by 2 would be a -8.4. So my midpoint between point G and H is a -6.2 for the x coordinate and a -8.4 for the y coordinate. So all you're doing is you're going to substitute in your x values here, your y values here, find the sum between both of the numbers, and then divide.